Pipe weapons. Something that people may consider to be a fundamental staple of Fallout 4. While not exactly present, at least in the more modern titles like Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas, pipe weapons are something that just kind of makes sense. It's years and years after the bombs have dropped, and people have a need to defend themselves, and if weapons aren't readily available, they might as well try and make their own. It's a concept that just makes sense. Now, for some reason, many people have a problem with the vanilla Fallout 4 pipe weapons. And this is a phenomenon I see very often, and it varies in degrees. Some people have just a small problem, others have a huge problem with them, and even go as far as to remove them from their game completely. So what I've done is created this video, which is going to separate those different categories of people into groups and find mods to help please them and fix their pipe weapons to be just how they want it in their load order. Now, typically for a mod bundle video, we have a bundle of mods that all work together to accomplish a similar goal. That's not the case with this one. These mods all actually shouldn't be used together. In reality, some of them shouldn't be used together at all, because they accomplish the same goal in a different manner. So what I'm doing in this video is giving you options, starting with the people who can tolerate pipe weapons and moving on to the people who really can't. So stay tuned. Maybe you fit into one of these categories, and if you think that you like the pipe weapons, stick around anyways, because you may find a way to improve them and make them even better in your game. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get right into the first fix. So our first category of people who kind of like the vanilla pipe weapons, but maybe have an issue with that copper coating. And this is my experience with a lot of people. They honestly just hate the color of pipe weapons, and everything else is fine for them. And for those people, I recommend a ton of retextures. My personal favorite is the more realistic pipe weapon retexture by AlexSlesh, which is what is on screen now, but there's a variety of really good ones by other authors like Spiffy Skytrooper that all give their own take, but most of them accomplish a very similar thing, which is changing the metal from orange to gray, and maybe even doing something to the wood, but not always. So really just go out there and find whichever one suits your style the best and makes you enjoy pipe weapons the most. But if you're in this category, I have a feeling you might actually like some of the stuff I have in store, because if you already like pipe weapons, some of these mods maintain the style but just make it a little bit nicer. So stay tuned for our next category, which is gonna be people who don't like the pipe weapons, specifically just the style of the Fallout 4 pipe weapons. Maybe they like the idea of having pipe guns, but they just don't like the way that they look in Fallout 4, and for that, I actually have a couple of replacers in mind. The first of which is going to be Nina's Proper Pipe Weapons Replacer by NinaTheBunny. Now, this mod is going to give what is, in my opinion, a much more believable pipe weapon. The ones in Fallout 4 were really gross. I hated how boxy they were, and honestly, most of the time just didn't look like they could even function. Now, in terms of stability and not falling apart in your hands, I can't say that these do much better, as again, they are pipe weapons, but at the very least, these look like they were made out of real parts and are something that could be mass produced, as it does incorporate other real weapon parts into it. This mod is going to actually replace the pipe weapons themselves, as well as pipe bolt actions and pipe revolvers. And I really like the unique takes on each of these weapons, especially the pipe bolt action, which is probably my least favorite weapon in vanilla Fallout 4, but this mod makes it look good. I gotta say, I really like this one. It truly is a wonderful replacer for pipe weapons and makes them feel a lot more believable. And that's something I'd want whenever they're the most common weapon in the Commonwealth. So definitely a great one that's worth checking out. Now again, this is just going to cover the pipe weapons, but it does it in arguably one of the best ways I've ever seen. Now, while staying within that category, there actually is another mod that does the exact same thing, that's also going to replace all of the pipe weapons, and that's going to be the Post-apocalyptic Handmade Weapons Replacer by eyeshkeeper. Now, this mod takes a slightly different approach. It still replaces them with handmade looking weapons, but these are probably a little bit closer to the vanilla Fallout 4 style. Now, what I think is the key difference between these two mods, aside from their complete visual differences, is the amount of variety available inside of the post-apocalyptic weapons pack. Not only does this cover all of the pipe weapons, the pipe bolt actions, and the pipe revolvers, they are all given their own unique style as well as a ton of attachment variety. More importantly, this mod also covers other weapons like the laser musket or the assault rifle or even the deliverer, which is something nobody was asking for, but yet it's amazing. As a matter of fact, the laser musket replacer is something I use at all times, whether I'm using either of these mods or not. It honestly just makes it look that much better. Now, it's important to note that with Nina's pipe weapon overhaul, when you install it as a replacer. There is only one file option, and that is it. It downloads and it replaces the pipe weapons, and that's your option, which is fine. It looks great and it works perfectly. Whereas with the Post-apocalyptic pack, you actually have quite a bit of customization as to how you download it. You can just get an all-in-one replacer that just replaces the pipe weapons, or you can additionally download the assault rifle or the laser musket or the deliverer as a standalone replacement. So if you like the laser musket, you can actually download just that. Additionally, these weapons are actually available as standalone weapons. Now let's say you love the style of Nina's weapons and the post-apocalyptic homemade weapons. Well, you can download them both and just get the standalone version of the post-apocalyptic weapons pack, and now you have a nice mishmash of all kinds of handmade weapons in your game, which is another option. So think about what you want, and if you really do embrace the style of homemade weapons, then maybe that's your best option. Now, one other alternative for fixing your pipe weapons could also be installing completely new pipe weapons. And doing so isn't going to fix the vanilla ones. So in terms of fixing the vanilla ones and changing their appearance, this is pretty much where that section ends. But if you want to install new ones, there are a handful of really good handmade weapons. Some of my personal favorites being things like the handmade Anti-Materiel rifle. Lots of other people also like things like the Crude Blowback, as well as the Handmade Revolver or even the Tamakuzi 9. All of those mods are going to add really cool looking handmade weapons into the game that just fit that idea of cobbling together weapons out of just spare parts, which is definitely a very cool style. But that brings me to my last category of people who don't like pipe weapons at all, or the idea of handmade weapons whatsoever. And while you may not agree with that, that is a group of people who also need mods to serve that purpose. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't like the pipe weapons and wants to just remove them from their game, there are mods that literally do exactly that. There is even one that's just called No More Pipe Weapons. However, I'm not going to recommend that you use that. Not because it's a bad mod, but because it has an unintended effect, which is that it straight up just removes those weapons from the leveled list and doesn't replace them with anything. And what that results in is a lot of raiders running around with no weapons whatsoever, and they will just start punching you. And that is something that I thought I was okay with, but very quickly I realized that I wasn't. So I'm going to recommend replacers. For those of you who really just can't stand pipe weapons, use replacers. There are some really good ones, like the MilitiaGun to PipeGun Replacer by zhesam, which will take the MilitiaGun weapon and replace the pipe gun with it, but it is also kind of a cobbled together style weapon, so maybe that's one you may not prefer, so maybe you'll like something more like the DefenseGun Replacer for pipe guns by Anderrule00500, which takes Yonataku's defense gun and puts it in place of all of the pipe weapons. And there's a ton of other replacers for just about any mod you can think of, so rather than citing all of those, I have one final suggestion. You can actually just replace them yourself. Now, this does require a slight amount of knowledge with Fallout 4 Edit, but it's really not that difficult. There's actually a guide to it, a text document that I will link down below. It's actually a forum on Nexus by Cthorthu. If you check that out, it will teach you exactly how to do exactly that. You can use any weapon mod or even a weapon in the base game to just replace the pipe guns with if you really hate them that bad. And it'll do it flawlessly. If you do it correctly, it'll just take its place and use the correct ammo types and everything will just work. And that's actually an option that I've been using for quite a while. Although I'm thinking of changing that up a bit. But regardless, I hope I covered all of the bases. No matter how you feel about pipe weapons, hopefully one of these will answer your problem. And hopefully you can actually find a way to make pipe weapons work better in your game, or just find a way to remove them completely. Whatever works for you, I hope this video helped. So don't forget to go out there and support the mod authors. Every single one of these authors did amazing work and made some really excellent mods to help fix pipe weapons for somebody. So go give them your support, endorse the mods if you enjoy them, donate if that's something you're able to do, but most of all, just show your appreciation for all of their hard work. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a rating. Subscribe if you haven't already for more videos just like this, and I hope to see you in the future. Peace. And hey, shout out to all of our patrons for their continued support. As always, your donations are greatly appreciated and help to fund videos just like this one. So again, thank you.